I'm coming in hot.
Hey, God bless you guys. It's Jennifer joining you today. There's been so much going on lately, and I just wanted to check in with you guys and ask you, how are you doing? Wait, before you answer that question, I don't want you to answer me with what you think I'm expecting you to answer with. I don't expect you to be okay and have it all together. If you are okay and have it all together and your answer sounds like I'm doing great, I've taken advantage of the time, then I'm really happy for you. But if your answer is more like I'm struggling, I'm having a hard time, trying to keep my head above water, that answer is okay too. Can't tell you how many times I've been going through the storms of life and people have noticed that I haven't been myself and they've reached out to see how I'm doing. And my first reaction is what most of us do. I put on a mask and I just answer with an automatic reply of, I'm doing great, how are you? Or sometimes I just completely skip over that, act like I didn't see it, and go on to the next part of the text. See, I just want you to know that if we're not okay, it's okay to talk about it. I was reading the book of Mark, chapter 14, verses 33 to 36, and this is what really was like a wake-up call for me, that we need to be open about these things. And in the Bible, it says that Jesus was troubled, deeply troubled and distressed. And it says that he took his disciples with him, Peter, John, and James. So by taking them, he's showing us that community is important during these times when you're not okay. And it says that as they were walking, he tells them, my soul is deeply crushed with grief to the point of death. And for me, I was just like, whoa, you mean to tell me that Christ was just really transparent with them and told them that? And then I was kind of able to see too. A lot of times we feel like we're not supposed to feel sad. We're not supposed to feel anxious. That God looks down on us for that, or other people look down on us for that. And that's not true. So many times his word tells us, do not be anxious for anything. And it tells us that Christ is close to the brokenhearted, to those who are crushed in spirit. Right? So we see not only that he called his community to come with him and keep him company and watch, right? But he was also open about what he was feeling. Now, when he comes out, he finds his disciples sleeping. And I think we can all relate to that. We've all been in moments where we've needed someone, and when we're trying to find someone, it seems like there's nobody around to help us. And it kind of reminds me of that poem, the Footprints poem. Not sure if you guys have ever read it, but it's one of my favorites, like really old school. But there's a person walking through the beach, and there's two sets of footprints. And when the storms of life start rolling in, it seems like now there's only one set of footprints. And the punches are rolling in, and there's still only one set of footprints. And this person asks God, and they're like, God, why is it that during the most difficult times in my life, you left me alone? There's only one set of footprints. And then God answers, it's during those moments when I carried you. And it's the same thing with us. Just because we don't feel him does not mean that he is absent. He is always present. And, these verses just really got to me, because I was just thinking about so many times when I've been down and out and I really didn't know what to do, and I felt so alone, and it was just like, God can relate to me. Like, he's not disappointed that I'm having these feelings. Christ felt these feelings when he was here on earth. And I remember a few months back, I was really struggling with my mental health. It got to a point where I was like, I'm not really sure what's going on. I didn't think that I would ever have to go through this. And the attacks were just so strong. And I found some pastors and some family and friends that I can trust. And I just reached out to them and let them know, like, hey, I'm not doing okay. Can you guys pray for me? And it was during these moments that I was struggling with my mental health that I realized the importance of community. I realized that it's important to have friends that are not only praying for you, but praying with you. I remember one time, my friend and I were both going through like some really hard times. So I prayed for her and she prayed for me. And as she was praying for me, I fell asleep. That doesn't make me a bad friend. That just proves the power of prayer. Because I was having trouble sleeping and my friend prayed for me and I was able to fall asleep while she was praying for me. And, it was also a time when I learned to be honest with people and let them know when I needed them. Sometimes I had to let my family and my friends know that I needed community, that I needed somebody there with me. And I remember one of my friends was doing a check-in on me, and I I told her that I needed someone, that I could use a visit, and she did. So she came over like within those days, and it was 3 of us there. And before they came over, I hadn't even realized that they themselves were going through things as well. They themselves were going through some difficult moments in time, and we're all just sitting there, and each of us are just encouraging and uplifting each other. And we're just sitting at the kitchen table. We were done eating, and now we're all crying. But it was a good cry. It's a therapeutic cry. One of those cries when you're with your friends and kind of just let it all out. It's all out in the open. And I was just like, oh, that's awesome. So it was good. But I also learned a lot about self-care. And self-care, although sometimes it is great things like bubble baths and doing things that you like, sometimes self-care is doing things that you don't like. For me, I remember that I was speaking to someone, and they really put things into perspective for me, and was like telling me, like, what about school? Is that something that you can put down for now? And to be honest, I didn't want to take a break from school, because I just felt like it's just going to take forever for me to finish. My graduation is going to get pushed back. I just want to get it over with. But sometimes self-care is things that we don't like. So I put school to the side. I took a break, but now I'm back in school. God willing, the end of the year, I'll be done. It will be finished. And I also went to counseling. I realized that I needed some professional help, because the battle that I was facing was just too much for me. So now, as a church, as the body of church, if you are on the other end, where you're not struggling with mental health and things are great, then I want to encourage you to be there for someone who is struggling. And there's so many ways that we can do that right now. And during these times, there's just so many things going on, so many uncertainties. And yes, there's a lot of limitations, but there's no limit to what God can do. We have to use what God has given us. So let's not be like Jesus' friends, that when he came out, he found them sleeping when they were supposed to be keeping watch. So I want to encourage you to pray for someone. Pray with them on the phone. Check in on them. Do video calls. Send them a care package. Find out what they like. What's their favorite movie? What's their favorite snacks? Send it to them. If you can't personally go and give it to them, send it to them through Amazon. I remember just last month, one of my friends came by, and it was a moment where, we had a lot going on in the family, and she came and dropped off a dozen cupcakes, and it just really made my day. She literally came and dropped off sweetness. I was so thankful for it. We also have to understand that people that are hurting, they are not below us. We have been there sometimes where we ourselves have been hurting, and if they're hurting, we should be hurting, right? Our purpose is to go and make disciples. Like, our purpose is literally to be in community, to lift people up, to instruct people, to teach people, right? And I think that we need to understand that, it was in the Old Testament, and then Jesus quoted it in the New Testament. It was relevant then, and it's still relevant now, right? It says that we were anointed to bring good news, to set the captives free, so that the blind can see, and so that the oppressed can have freedom. So we have the ability to give an uplifting word. Let's not be silent and watch. Let's be proactive. Let's do something about it. Let's speak and act. Let's be the church.